want to talk about body counts right off the bat? Or
no. Okay, hold on. I want to start off with a little bit of an amends. You may remember, you may have seen in the news.
Yes.
I think it was the 2010
Yes.
VMAs.
Yes.
Like, on the red carpet,
Yep.
which wasn't red, you were in the middle of an interview, right?
Yes.
And I'm all excited because I've been
this?
watching every single episode of Jersey Shore. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
There's the situation, and I just, with absolutely no regard for what you were doing in the middle
Yeah.
of your interview,
Yeah.
I just come barging in, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, dude, the dude was trying to introduce, I completely interrupted your interview. Like, it was so rude of me, and like, you're like, dude, like, and then I'm like, oh my God, like, the situation cool guyed me. He blew me up. And then I'm like bitching to everybody who will listen.
Yeah, no,
when I was the jerk.
Yeah, well, you know what? I really appreciate that because at the time when it all happened, you were next to me on, I think it was like the left, and on my right was Rick Ross, okay? And I was super, super high on probably... My magic number was 6 to 8 Roxys, which are 30 milligram oxycodones. So I probably didn't know what was going on at the time. I kind of was like holding it together with my glasses like this, tipped, like trying to hide that I was in active addiction at the time.
Right.
And I also, unbeknownst to you, I was a big fan. You guys, to be honest with you, I don't know if everyone knows, but Jackass had the record for the highest ratings in MTV, and then what Osbourne's guys?
Then Osbourne's
got you guys, and then we got Osbourne's.
Yeah,
that's how it worked out. Yeah,
right. But yeah, there you go. Like I was telling the tabloids that you dissed me, when in fact what happened was I came up and barged into the middle of your interview, totally rudely.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of was just I was excited to meet you. I was excited to be on the carpet. I was trying to just give a regular interview and then try to keep it together because, to be honest with you, no one knew at the time I was in active addiction, like really, really heavy. That was the first year they started to pay us millions of dollars when we had this big renegotiation with MTV. And I was really just trying to keep together. So
the sunglasses at night is usually a pretty good.
oh, definitely. I mean, now when I like walk around and I see somebody with some glasses, I'm like, I'm looking at the pupils because I'm a very good judge these days of anyone that's like intoxicated or just acting out of pocket.
Right.
Did you get them from Joey Bananas?
Johnny Bananas.
What do you mean?
So I was pretty hard on the perks too back in the day, and I used to get my stuff from Staten Island. And I know that Staten Island, I'm from Connecticut, and I know Staten Island is kind of in the middle between Jersey and Connecticut.
Yes, we definitely got them from Staten Island. We got them from Brooklyn. Percocets were called Bananas at the time because they were yellow. And they're Perk 10s. If you go even higher to oxycodone 30 milligrams, they were called Blues, Roxy's, Blueberries.
Yeah.
And no one knew that I was a drug dealer before I became on MTV. I was like this, town drug dealer, selling, let's just say, it wasn't that much. Maybe it was like 30, 35 pounds of marijuana every week on consignment.
That's a fair amount.
On consignment, debt collected as well.
Yeah. It was about $100,000 on, that I was had an account, and it was like 30 to 35 pounds of marijuana. Maybe it was between 7 to 10 ounces of coke, and then it was maybe like 100 Xanax. Maybe it was 100 Percocets, and I just was like a pharmacy when I was in college.
And you went straight from rehab to the first season of Jersey Shore.
Yes. I was trying to keep that hidden because, again, I had very little knowledge about addiction or self as a young man, let's just say 26 years old. Then when I was casted, I was hiding it from the producers that I just got out of rehab. I mean, because maybe they wouldn't have casted me. I was a risk. With that. So, and I went to rehab for opiates, as, again, I loved, had a love for Percocets or opiates, so to say, yeah.
When you got out of rehab right before the Jersey Shore started the first season, were you actually trying to stay sober, or you just weren't even?
Oh, good question. No, I was trying to stay sober, but well, it's called substitution. I wasn't trying to take Percocets. But I was like, I thought I was somewhat healed. I had no knowledge of addiction or that you had to treat yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. At the time when they first detoxed me, I'm like, I'm good. You know, some of the guys and some of the stories that you would hear in rehab, they're like, oh my God, this guy sold, his kitchen cabinets for crack. And you're like, that's not me. You know what I mean? I'm not those guys. I got this. Right. And then you go right back into the streets and back to pretty much very similar behaviors. But it took me a little time. I started at the Jersey Shore and I was just drinking the first season. Once they gave me the money, that second season or maybe a year later, and I started to get the millions of dollars and the big raises, the Ferraris. I know that I bought my first Ferrari with about 200 Rockasets in my pocket at the time, like, oh, we about to have some fun. So that was like the beginning of, I guess, the end. Yeah. Because at that same year, that I was in TV, I made around $5 million from endorsements, MTV. But the year before, I didn't make any money, and I didn't have to file a tax return. So, like, do you see
For sure.
the difference there?
Did any of the other cast members know all this? That like when you started to get all this money and you were buying all these Roxys, did any of them have any idea that?
Well, I mean, I hit it really well. Obviously, I had a history of being a drug dealer for a very long time. So I kind of knew how to walk in the street, so to say, and not get caught. But there were a few times, and I do write it in my book, that I think it was off season after season number 1, we had press. And I was just feeling myself a little bit, and we were doing press, and I offered Jenny an Oxy 80. And she looked at me like, what is that? And that's when I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Let me grab that
back.
Don't
know they call these green monsters.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I grabbed it back. Like, if you don't want that, that's fine. But I kind of let the cat out of the bag. And even that's when she kind of started to know, like what is this kid into? Even in the beginning when I started to do tours out in LA wasn't big into like Percocets and the drugs that we were out in the East. When you go out to the West, and I was like, oh guys, you guys got like Roxys and you got Oxys, or they're like, what do you got, a toothache? They weren't into it back then.
I'm sober too, and I didn't get into opiates. What would opiate 80 or
Oxy
80? What would an Oxy 80 do to me now? If
my God!
If I don't have a tolerance to it.
Oh my God!
I mean, is there like 30s, 50s, like what?
You would probably throw up. Probably. I don't think it wouldn't kill you.
Jenny would have thrown up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
What's that equivalent to though?
Like, an Oxy 80 is 10 Percocet 8 Percocet 10s. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
But then there's a coating on top of it, which makes it like slower release.
Yeah, the time release. What we used to do is we used to
scrape it off,
lick it, and then
suck it off,
and scrape it off, and throw that bad boy right on a piece of tinfoil.
Really?
Yeah. People would smoke it. I didn't like to snort them. I refrained from that because I just had a copious amount of it. I would have hundreds of Roxys on me, so I just would take 6 at a time, 8 at a time.
Yeah.
Do Dancing with the Stars. Today I'm gonna do 4. I'm going on live TV. Nobody had a clue.
How much did one of those cost? How much did a pill cost?
There was a point where it was like almost $1 a milligram. So when you get over here, it gets like 50 cents a milligram. But the further north you go, it goes up to $1 a milligram.
When you say get over here,
like this neck of the woods.
You're talking about like between $20 and $30 for one
for
pill.
a perk 30.
For one pill.
Yeah.
What's the most you ever spent on drugs at one time?
Oh my God! I mean, my accountant went because I did go to prison for tax evasion, but my accountant went through my finances. When we started to go through the case, the United States versus Mike, the situation, and they sat me down and they went through my finances and they said, "Do you know that you spent between $500,000 and $600,000 on oxycodone and cocaine?" And I'll be honest with you, at the time I was in early recovery. And I was trying to be accountable. I was trying to show humility, and I was being honest. And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
I thought it was about
that sounds about right.
The accountant,
because he wrote a check saying Oxys on the note.
All the ATM withdrawals were in $1,000 increments. And, you know, if you say, okay, every time I went to the ATM, I spent $1,000, and then they went through and went the comparisons of all the $1,000 withdrawals that were, you know, let's just say every other day, it comes out to be, I don't know if it's, $3,000 or $4,000 a week. After about 3 years, it's, you know, it's $600,000.
Do you like shopping on Amazon? I do. And good news is, Steve-O's butt wipes for your butthole are available on Amazon. And if you want a real bundle of a deal, you can get Steve-O's hot sauce for your butthole, plus Steve-O's butthole destroyer, and Steve-O's butt wipes for your butthole. It's the butthole bundle, available on Amazon right now.
Yeah, dude.